It is Friday night. Welcome to High Desert Highlights. So glad to be with you. I'm Peyton Thomas.
And I'm Steele Haugen. I'm glad to be back this week. And our feature game, getting right off the bat, the Lava Bears hosting Springfield. This is the first possession of the snap, and the punt goes over the head for the Millers of the puncher's head and tackled close to the Lava Bear end zone, which leads to the first play being a Josh Lambert touchdown score. Now Springfield, they get the ball back. Wade Cook, he takes the run and he fumbles it. Lava Bears take it over. The Bears, they're hoping to capitalize on the mistake, but oh no, they give the ball right back. And one more look. Look at this amazing effort by the Millers to get this fumble recovery. Great job there. Now fourth down. Springfield back to pass. They're close to their own end zone. Not even close. Great stop for the Lava Bears. Ben back on offense. Caden Cooper swing pass. That's Mauricio Silva. He turns on the Jets. He breaks some tackles before he gets some yardage and is finally brought down. Cooper back to pass once again. Max Duncan, he finds a little room. He makes the catch and he's brought down right before the end zone, and Lambert punches it in soon after. The Lava Bears, they're going for two after a missed PAT, and it's in the air by Cooper. And look at this grab, Isaiah Krause again. One more look, great ball.
Just get up, big fella. Out jump the defender.
Great effort. And the Millers, they need a score. They need to score quick. They throw in the air. It's up in the air, it bounces, intercepted. Coben Williams, and he gets a few chunks of yards before he's brought down. The Lava Bears, though, they're on the attack. Cooper finds Duncan, fingertip grab, and he's in the end zone. Touchdown. Millers back to pass again. Again intercepted. This one all the way to the house. Pick six. Lava Bears take a 28 lead at the half. They were up 28-6 halfway through the third, but Springfield came back, forced overtime, but the Lava Bears came away victorious with a 34-28 overtime win.
And I bet that was a nervy fourth quarter as Springfield came back in that game, but Max Duncan getting it done on both sides of the ball. Ben getting the win. Yeah, he's big for their side. Okay, over to the south side of town. Caldera, the other team in action playing on home turf. The Wolfpack searching for their first win with West Albany coming to town, but it's the Bulldogs striking first on the opening drive. Caldera's defense quickly back out there after a punt, but this time a different result. Henry Boney brings in the interception, the diving catch. How about that play? Later in the quarter, still 7-0 Bulldogs. The Wolfpack secondary, they come up big again. The QB scrambles out, but only finds Cade Gilbert. Of course, much to the joy of the Wolfpack faithful's second interception of the quarter. Now the offense gets to work. Jennings trying to find his way out, and he finds Boney on the out route. Drive does stall out, though. Next time, some better luck. How about the jet sweep action? Going left, and you can see the wheels on Waylon Clark racing down the sideline. That's better to 20, 30 yards down the field. Now over to the second quarter, same drive. 4th and 2, Jennings scrambles out of the pocket. He picks up the first down and fights for extra yardage going up the middle. It's about the size of the fight in the dog, everybody. Took several Bulldogs to bring him down. A couple plays later, inside handoff, touchdown, Pack, Jaden Blumenshine.
And they're still fighting.
West Albany now looking to get it back, and they're driving on the ground. They stick with the strategy all the way inside the 10, and then on the goal line, Godfrey Kahn gets the handoff, and he gets over the line, taking a Wolfpack defender with him. Late in the half, Caldera looking for another big defensive play, and they get one. A couple interior linemen, tough to tell with the cloud of dust. They force the fumble inside the scrum. It stays 14-6 into the locker room. Now into the third, West Albany staying physical, eating up that yardage on the ground, and they get the push all the way into the end zone, pulling away from Caldera 33-6.
And that brings us to tonight's first 5A scoreboard. And we saw earlier that overtime victory. That was Ben's first win of the season. And Caldera, they just got a little worn down by maybe the West Albany run game, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm with you. But how about that Ben game? Up 28-0 at halftime and holding on to survive. Yeah. Okay, next up in the IMC, we have one of the most highly anticipated games in all of Oregon this week. 2-0 Summit on the road against the defending champs, Wilsonville. This one knotted at 7 in the second quarter, and the Storm, they pull ahead. Guthrie drops back and finds his man on the corner route. That was along the far sideline. Wilsonville quick to respond, though, with 5 minutes to go in the half. Trailing by a touchdown, well, that high-powered Wildcats offense, they zip it near their own sideline. The receiver makes a man miss, and gets into the end zone. Now we go to the second half. Knotted up at 14, Summit offense right back into gear. Jude Anderson gets the handoff to the right, breaks a couple of tackles, picks up a lot more than he needed for just the first down. Pair of plays later, Summit behind the chains. Doesn't matter when you can make plays like this. Guthrie back there slinging it over the middle. 21-14 Storm. 6 minutes to play. Summit a chance to put things on ice. Play action. Rolling outside. Has his man wide open in the flat. And how about this effort to take it into the end zone? Summit with a huge road win against the Wilsonville Wildcats, 28-20. Well, that's a tough road game. How about a couple other tough road games? Crook County against Ashland, Mountain View against Mazama, and wow, look at these results, Steele.
And all those were away games. Let's point that out, too.
Yeah.
And that Summit one, again, that's a huge game. It's kind of almost a championship preview, to be honest with you there.
Yeah, and then looking at Crook County, how about the shutout for the Cowboys coming back after a tough game last week to take down Ashland on the road. Ashland 4A school.
Yeah, yes, and Crook County now playing that 5A classification.
And then Mountain View getting the blowout win over the Mazama. Both Summit and Mountain View are still undefeated on the year.
And stick with us. More 5A IMC games are coming up after the break. Welcome back to High Desert Highlights. Redmond, they enter this week 1-1, and really this week can help determine the direction for the rest of their season.
Yeah, the Panthers hosting 4A Pendleton, and they start things out tonight with a ribbon cutting on their brand new turf. This is the Panthers' first game at home this year, and like Steele said, a great opportunity to bounce back from a rough game last week. 7-7 in this one. The run to the left. Cameron Lasoya wheels. How about this top-tier speed?
I missed it. That was a blink of an eye.
Yeah, he flew right past our camera, beat everyone to the end zone. Not close. Pendleton looking for the answer, hoping to find it deep. Instead, they only find a Redmond Panther picked off in the secondary. But how about this? The very next play, Tyler Miner drops back for the Panthers. He looks for some options, and, well, he also throws an interception. Goes right back to the Buckaroos.
Does a little pump fake, but throws it right to the Buckaroos.
Into the second half now, 14-7 Panthers, and a lot of this game about the Redmond defense. Redmond getting into the backfield there for the tackle for loss. Later in the third, Pendleton does find some space. Quarterback scrambling out of the backfield, right up the gut into the Panther red zone. But Redmond stands tall to a 3rd and 10. Buckaroos looking for the score, and their pass falls incomplete. Pendleton also did miss the field goal try after this play. So into the fourth, Redmond still up a touchdown, but they're backed up deep. And, well, when you're backed up deep, you toss it deep. This is a touchdown nearly the length of the field. Miner to Carter walks, and Redmond defense would hold on from there. That's how things would finish. Redmond takes down Pendleton 21-7.
You think that turf makes them faster already, or
maybe?
What?
I don't know.
Like.
They're 1-0 on the turf, though.
And let's take a look at some of the rest of the IMC scores. Like we said, Redmond defeating Pendleton, and Ridgeview, their third
consecutive shutout.
1, 2, 3, 0 points against their other opponent's offense is incredible.
I mean, I don't know if there's any other teams that have given up no points defensively. Pretty incredible. Let's take a look at our 5A standings after tonight. Steele, we still have 3 undefeated teams, and all of them look pretty scary.
Yes, they do. Summit just having that huge victory tonight, as well as Mountain View just cruising along. Look at those two teams with Ridgeview in the shutouts. My goodness.
All right. Let's take a look at our other schools here in Central Oregon in action tonight. Sisters, a win on the road. Madras getting blown out on the road by Burns, and then Klamath Union taking down Lapine. And that brings us to our first 3A standings of the year. Steele, what do you see here?
Yeah, well, we're still waiting on that Pleasant Hill. This could change, but it's kind of wide open. As you can see, the 3A division right here, the 3A SD3 Special District, they're struggling a bit. So good news for all the teams, as anyone can take that league right now.
All right, Steele, now it's time to give the small schools in our area just a little bit of love.
Yeah, that's right. And one of our smallest schools of them all is off to its biggest start, the Culver Bulldogs. They wasted no time against Grant Union. This is some 8-man football. Now, fake to the running back, trickery to the tight end, and look at these blocks. Great running, strong score. Now, no trick play needed here. Just punch it right in the middle for another touchdown. Now, similar field position for Culver, not up the middle, just a little toss outside. Culver absolutely in command, and at this point, the Bulldogs just did whatever they wanted. They're off to a 3-0 start, and Peyton, hear this. They've outscored their first 3 opponents 132-25. How's that for a start?
Well,
huh?
I think we're getting a little used to it with Culver, because last year we saw them just blow a bunch of people out all the way to the playoffs. So looks like the Bulldogs have another strong squad this year. All right, here's our final scores of the night now. Culver getting that big win on the road against Grant Union. How about Gilchrist? We don't give enough love to the Gilchrist Grizzlies, just a little bit down south. They were taking on Chiloquin, well, further south, but the Panthers taking down the Grizzlies 40-26. That's 6-man 1A football.
Yeah, and we've seen a number of great plays tonight. So let's pick out our favorite plays of the night.
And it wasn't easy. We saw everything tonight, but this one sticks out. Let's head back to Bend High. The heave down the field, bounced up in the air, and this is just classic tip drill steal. And you know who's on the back end of it is Coben Williams following the ball the whole way. Great play and concentration by Williams to get that interception, and Bend High held on.
That's not easy there. And let's just stay at Bend High. Another look at this great grab by Isaiah Kraus, almost like Randy Moss-ish. Almost, but still a fantastic grab there.
Yeah, he gets up above the defensive back bend. Again, holding on. I can't believe they're up 28-0 at half and almost blew that game.
I know, but got it done anyway. And finally tonight, a game we have our eyes set on for next week. And if you're thinking about tuning in, this is the one.
Gonna want to watch this one. This could decide the IMC at the end of the year. It's almost a shame that this happens on the very first week of conference play, because these two teams both going to be getting better. But both Summit and Mountain View, big wins so far this year. This is the stiffest competition either of them will face, and two great teams.
Yeah, and both undefeated. Had a fantastic game last year, went down to the very end, and I'm expecting a similar one this year.
All right, well, we'll expect to see you there next Friday night. I know our Steel Haugen will be there for Mountain View Summit, one of the biggest games coming up on the slate in the IMC Conference. Thanks for tuning in to High Desert Highlights.